Hi, good morning. Welcome aboard this Boeing 737. Today we'll be doing a test flight from Munich Airport to London Gatwick. We've got a simulator set up here running FSX with GSX ground control and OBS software doing the recording. This is a test to see how we get on, so we're going to start from cold and dark in this Boeing 737 and get it up and running. So first thing we'll do is get some power on. So let's get some power on here, and we'll just pan up now to our overhead. We'll get some battery power on, and then we'll get some ground power on. So we've got an overhead here. Let's turn on. There's our battery power coming on, and let's go down to our FMC here, and we shall select some ground power section, ground connections, ground power on, and then we'll go back to the overhead and select the ground power switch from our overhead here. Isn't right. Okay, there we go. We've got ground power on now. I'm just going to get GSX started now, so we can see that we've got some baggage being loaded and fuel, etc. So let's get GSX underway. Switch to the outside view. There we go, this is our Ryanair Boeing 737. Let's get some. We'll request our catering services, and then we're going to use the default choice for our catering services. Pan around and watch this going on. Here we are at Munich Airport. We're at gate 104. I'll get some doors open so that we can get some baggage on board. So we'll just get our doors open there, and then we'll start lining up our satellite navigation system. Let's get our rear doors open so we can load our cargo in. Open for the catering service. And we'll request our baggage now. Move this to another screen because it's spoiling your view at the moment. Down here. And we're going to request boarding. Catering trucks arriving. In place for boarding, and finally we'll do our fuel in a moment because I haven't set it up. Right, just let that run. We can watch this for a little while. It's quite interesting, and then I'll run through the route of the flight we're going to take today. Preparing our aircraft for that flight. This is the VR Insight. Quite a noisy truck there. This is the VR Insight instrument system. Excellent piece of kit there. This is the Boeing configuration. We have EFIS control here. We've got the main MCP, which governs our speed, our heading indicator, altitude, vertical speed, autopilots, etc. And then we've got the comms section over here, which does all our communications, got standard comms, navigation, DME for setting up our approaches, and you also have 10 programmable function buttons up the top here. We'll get into in a little while. We'll just run through this little simulation here while the passengers are boarding. I'll also insert all the documentation you require on this. I've got here, this is our flight plan, come from a company called SimBrief, and I'll go through each stage of this flight plan in still images I'll cut into the video later on. I'll walk you through setting up the FMC for an automated flight. Okay, we've just been requested to close our entry doors now. I believe everything's done, so just going to shut our doors again. Entry doors. Close those. These ones are finished. Stairs. So there's stairs. No, right, there's stairs. We'll close them. Catering trucks moving off now. What we'll do is now request our fuel. It takes quite a long time for the fuel truck to get there. And then we'll shortly switch to internal of the cockpit. I can just the baggage going on now. I'm going to go internally and set up the flight plan. Not sure if you can see my overhead panel. So I'll just bring this up here slightly, you might be able to see it. Future video I'll go through the construction of the overhead panel. Just give it a quick look to it up there. You can see it with this light. All individual switches wired to a Leobodny card, running through a program called FSU-IPC. I'll go into more detail with that in a future video. Just want to do this test flight today, see how this comes out. Using a new camera today as well, which is the Logitech C920 webcam. It's an HD webcam, runs at 1080 at 30 frames a second. What's this coming out on here? Still waiting for our bags. spin around to the other side of the plane, see if there's anything going on there. Stairs all closed, aren't they? Just going to switch a few lights on in the cabin because we have got the plane operating, so I'll put our strobe on steady and the cabin seat belts and the chime alarms on. Bags. I'm currently running the demo version of GSX, so this only gives you 3 airports you can run from. Seems to be a great little program. There's a few flaws in it. As you can see, everybody's faces are either red or blue, which will be an absolute nightmare on the carousels. It adds to the entertainment and the feeling of reality. I actually wanted to fly in EasyJet colours, but unfortunately EasyJet no longer use the Boeing 737, so I cannot find the overlay in EasyJet colours. But Ryanair looks very nice. Also got Thomas Cook, but I won't be flying that anymore. She took some bags away, I don't know why. Didn't like those ones. Done. I don't know if they're bringing any more on. Boarding's completed. Stairs should be moving off now, no they don't. Take the fasten seatbelt signs off because we're refueling with passengers on board. We're done with the baggage, so should be able to close the cargo bay doors now. Just close those up. Wait for this fuel truck. and then we'll get on to planning the route. Here he comes, crikey. He will actually ask me to set our fuel limit, which you do in FSX actions rather than directly through the FMC. Well, I'll explain that later. At the moment I'll just set our fuel tanks to full so we can get him out of the way. So here we go, set full. And then we can get on with programming the FMC. Or the CDU, whichever you'd like to call it. There he goes, he didn't hang about, did he? That's him done. Right, I'm going to switch the camera over now to the FMC so we can go through the flight plan. There we go, I'll just leave the cockpit window off at the moment. Let's turn that off for now. Right, this is the CDU or FMC flight management computer. And what we're going to do in this, we have here our copy of our flight plan from a company called SimBrief, and we're going to work our way through this to program the computer. The first thing we need to do is to set up our navigation device, because at the moment the aircraft doesn't know where it is. So we're going to go here on the FMC here. I've got a touch screen luckily on this one. We're going to go to our menu. We're going to select FMC. This comes up with the standard ident here. Now this is out of date because it doesn't get updated at all because it's the old software. But you do have what type of aircraft it is. It's a Boeing 737-800 series with winglets. It tells you that the AirAC data, which is the navigation data, is out of date, but as I say, it doesn't get updated, the system. So we can just clear this error by pressing the CLR or clear button on the FMC. Right, so the first step is to set our POS init page, which is our position, our initial position. Now up on the overhead, I am going to select, I can get the main window on the overhead for you. You can see that. Let's get the main view up, and I'll turn the FMC off for a moment. I'm going to pan to our overhead. Pan to our overhead. Here we go. You see the overhead. Now up there, there's our GPS. Now, using my actual physical switches, I should be able to select the GPS to align. That's one. There we go, that's the second one. They're now aligning the GPS there. Right, once they're aligned, I'll go back to my FMC window now, which is this here. Now we'll select POS init page, which is that one. Now it's asking for our reference airport. Now our reference airport is Munich, which is EDDM. So we'll punch that in. EDDM. Enter that in for our reference airport. There. We are actually at gate 104. So we've got 104 in. Put that under our gate. Right, now it's given our GPS coordinates here, Now we have to set that to the GPS that the aircraft is picking up. So if we go to our next page, these are our two GPSs, you can see here, and we just pick one of those. I don't know which one they pick usually, if it's the right or the left, but I'm going to pick the right one there. Then we'll go back to our previous page and we'll enter it in here. It says set IRS position. There we go. Now that gives the aircraft its location, and in a little while you'll see, I'll pan down to, you can't see them on there because I've got them on a separate window. Let me open that window up for you. Flight instrument panel. Just turn these off a moment and then you'll see the flight instrument panel. They should come to life soon. The system's paused again. It does like to pause every time you press something. Right, you should see them come to life now that we've put in our GPS coordinates. There we go. Now once the GPS is aligned, it's put our position here on our main instrument panel. Right, we'll go back to the CDU or FMC and we'll continue through the process of loading in our flight plan. So we turn off the instrument window now and just bring up our FMC. There we are. Right, it's very convenient in the fact that it gives you the steps on the next part of the index here. So we need to put in our route. So we'll select route. There we go, and it's asking us for our origin airport and our destination airport. Now it's automatically entered EDDM because it knows we're at Munich. So if we select that one for our origin, now this flight is going to take us to London Gatwick, which is EGKK. So we stick in EGKK and select that as our destination airport. Our flight number in this case is, we're Ryanair, so our prefix is RYR, and I've designated this flight as 737, just because we're flying a 737. There we go. And I'll do the overlays here, but if you go into your SimBrief flight plan, it gives you your route under routing. It says we're taking off from runway 26 right. So where it says the runway here, we put 26R for right and select that as our runway. It's 26 right. That's the first part of the routing entered. Now if we now go to our departures arrivals page, we will be departing, the top line is EDMN, which is Munich. We're departing from Munich. We're using runway 26 right. Now on this, SIDS, these are standard departure routes. Now if you look at your routing on your SimBrief page, it gives you a departing procedure as give me 1N. Well, that doesn't actually appear on here, so the only give me we've got here is the give GIVM 5W. So I'm going to select that one because that's the nearest one to the one on the proper flight plan list that we have. So we've selected that one, and then if you read through the rest of the routing, you can now put in all the different areas you're going to go through. If we go to our legs page, which shows you the different parts of the route along the flight plan, so we go to our legs page, it's already put in the SIDS, which is the standard departure routing, for you up to a point called GIVMI, give me. Okay, now if you look on your routing plan by SimBrief, you'll see that it's give me on there. the next part it takes you to is a flight corridor Y101. Well, these don't exist on the current FSX database, so we have to go to the next point along our route, which is OSBIT. OSBIT. So if we enter in OSBIT now, OSBIT, and then just put that after, give me the next one there. There we go, and that's entered that one. Then going back to our routing on our SimBrief flight plan, it gives us another flight corridor, UL984, which again doesn't exist in our database. I don't know if you can update these databases so it can give you the high level flight corridors or not. We filled this page, so we just select next page. After OSBIT, we haven't got the UL984, so we're going to go on to the next one, which is LOHRE. So we type in LOHRE and then enter that. Enter that in. And the waypoint after that again is a flight corridor UL610, which we don't have on here. So we'll skip to the next one, which is Batty. B-A-T-T-Y. And there. It's asking us, there's two Batties in the world. Well, one of them's obviously me. So it's giving you the GPS coordinates of both sites, and it's asking you to select one. If you get your SimBrief flight plan and go to page, page 5, I believe it is, it gives you more in depth the positions and the altitudes, etc. of your flight. So we go on, yep, page 5, and you say the Batty, and then it gives you a GPS coordinate of 5039.0. So we know it's the top one, so we'll select that one. There we go. And we're continuing entering our route. Next one is another flight corridor UL608, which we don't have. So we go to the next one, which is Denut, D-E-N-U-T. Enter that in. Then pass the flight corridor again to the final one, which is RAPIX, R-A-P-I-X. So it's R-A-P-I-X. Right, that's it for the flight so far. The next indications you have on your routing on the SimBrief flight plan is Tebra, Timber, and then coming into the airport. That's your approach into Gatwick, which will cover standard approaches. They're called STARS, Standard Terminal Approach, and we'll cover that during the flight. But we'll get first of all up to cruising altitude, and then we'll take it from there. So that's our route programmed in so far. We're going to activate that now on the button that says activate. That's it, that's activate, and then execute. That's all locked in now. That's our route locked into our navigation computer. The next thing we want to do is we want to start putting in the cruising altitude, the speed at which we're travelling, our V1 and our VR speeds. So if we go now to our init.ref page here, it'll come up to our performance profile now, and we just again off the SimBrief flight plan. This is all calculated for you, so you can enter it in. I'll show indications in overlays. Right, so the first thing we're looking for is the cost index. Now, according to my SimBrief flight plan, cost index for this flight is 55. So I've entered 55 and put that in as a cost index. Our transition altitude is set at 18,000 feet, but we actually do a transitional altitude at 10,000 feet here in the UK. It's 18,000 in the States. So I'm going to change that 18 to 10,000. Just enter 10,000 down there, and then transfer that to your transition altitude. Now, fuel reserves. We're going to go with, if you look on your flight plan, I've got a block fuel of 15,184 in there. But what I think I'll do is I'm going to change that just for this, because you need to go into more depth on the fuel calculations. So I'm going to put in a fuel reserves of 2.5. Okay, this will calculate as zero fuel weight automatically by just pressing, if you press the zero fuel weight, it comes up 121.8, and then select that again. I'll go into more depth in another video as to what these figures mean. And the only other thing we've got missing on there at the moment is our cruising altitude. Now again, if you go back to the SimBrief flight plan, on I believe page 5, you'll see a reference on the left hand side, sorry, that says TOC, which is your top of climb. So that's going to be your cruising altitude. And on here we have a top of climb of 34,000 feet. So that's flight level 340. So if you just type in 340 and then enter that in as your cruise altitude, which is just there. Okay, and then the execute lights come up, so we're happy with all of those figures. Press execute, and that's it. Now the next stage is your N1 limit, which is your maximum thrust limits. So if we select N1, there we go. At the moment it's selected full power, which is 26,000 pounds of thrust. You can derate for fuel economy. You can derate to 24,000 pounds, 22,000 pounds, or you can also bump up your thrust rating to 27 on this particular model. At the moment I'm going to select at full power at 26,000. So that's okay, that's already selected and active. So now we go to our takeoff. This is our takeoff reference page. Standard takeoff we'll use flaps 5, so we select 5 and put that in, flaps 5. The centre of gravity, again, the FSX calculates for you. You can actually check, it's on your SimBrief, it will tell you the centre of gravity, but because I haven't used the SimBrief fuel weights, that will be out. So at the moment I'll get FSX to calculate it for us. We'll just press centre of gravity, 19.1, then press it again and it will enter it for you. Your V speeds here, which are your takeoff speeds, have come up now. We've got a V1 of 149, VR at 150 and a V2 at 156. Now we don't want to select these straight away because we want to go to the next page, because certain conditions on the next page will affect those V speeds. So if you just select next page, there we go. Now what you've got is the runway wind and direction, you've got the runway slope, outside air temperatures. Now we don't, with FSX simulator you don't actually have a slope on any runways, and I'm going to select 0 for the wind because I want to fly in fair weather. You can also set the runway conditions, dry, wet or skid resistant, etc. So where runway wind, just going to select 0 stroke 0, pop that in there. So that's giving us no wind at all on there. As I say, in FSX all runways are flat, so there is no slope. So we'll just put 0.0 and enter that in there. Now of course if these conditions were different they would affect your V speeds. So So we go back to our previous page now. I think we're back. Here we go. Right, as I said, right, now we've done that second page of the takeoff reference page, we can now select our V1, VR and V2 as being correct. V1, VR, V2 speed. So that's all entered in there. Now I'm just going to put it back, keep it on this page because we need our trim settings for later. But everything else is done at the moment. Right, next thing we're going to go back now to setting up. I'll take it off the FMC and take you back to our main window. Right, we have our takeoff reference speeds now. So we'll dial them in on the MCP here. So we that 156, 2, 4, 56. There we go. We're heading round here to face where we're facing at the moment, which is good practice. Transition altitude is set to 10,000. That's all good. Okay, right, next thing we want to do is just make sure all our doors are shut. Got one door open, so I'm just going to go into the FS sections and shut the doors. Close that door there. So a quick look around the aircraft, make sure everything's clear, and then we will start our APU up and request pushback. Go back up to the main panel. We're going to start our APU. For that we need to open our fuel valves. So let's get the fuel valves open. All fuel valves are open, and we're going to start our APU up, which is here. And start. And we're just watching for this APU indicator here. It will kick way up to 8 once it starts, and then we'll wait for it to settle down to about 4. And then we'll open up the APU power switch, so we'll be getting power then from our APU generator. We can disconnect the ground connections. Just before we do that, we'll set a few things up here that we need. And first thing we're going to select our APU power. There we go. So we now got APU power on. APU generators now powering the aircraft instead of the ground power. We are going to, at this point I always set our yaw dampener on because I always forget to put it on otherwise, and it makes for hazardous flying. Okay, so I'll switch that on so I don't forget it. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to disconnect from the ground and request pushback through GSX. So here's our push truck.
Hello Captain, we are ready for pushback.
ready for pushback.
Locking gear. Departure check completed. Valve has been inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start FL.
Very nicely done here. Push back now. And then we'll go with engine start once our pushback's completed. I'm almost there now.
Set parking brakes.
Parking brake set. Got to wait for him to remove the pin and get clear of the aircraft. Then we'll taxi out, turning left here on C1.
Tow truck disconnected. Valve has been removed.
Wait for him to give us the all clear.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Going to put our taxi lights on now.
Clear to start engines.
We're clear to start engines. Thank you very much. I'm going to switch of view now to engine starts then. just check that our parking brake is on. Good. Right, we're going to go with engine start now. A little bit of both here, so I'm going to need to see the main instrument panel as well. So let's start our engine start. So we'll go with engine 2 on at the moment. We'll go to our main instrument panel now, so you can see that. We should see, here we go, it's starting to come up here. Once this reaches 25, we'll switch on our start valves. Start valves on. Let that engine stabilise. It's coming up now. 38, 39. And we'll just wait for the engine start valve to close. So that's the engine start valve closed. And we'll look at the second one now. Start the second one. There we go there. As soon as that reaches 25, we'll engage engine 1 fuel valve. There we go. We'll wait for the engines to start to stabilise. Stabilises, I'm going to switch power to the engine generators and turn off the APU. There we go. So, switch engine gen 1 and 2 on, and we'll turn off the APU. There we go. So we've now switched power to our engine generators. Need to set our oxygen pressure level to our cruising altitude, which is 34,000 feet. There we go. That's good. And we're going to turn our engine hydraulic pumps on there, the electrics are on. Both hydraulic pumps on. And we will just check that we have hydraulic pumps. So we'll go to the view here, and I'll just change this indicator here to our hydraulics so we can make sure all our control surfaces are working. Let's just change that over to our hydraulic indicators, so we'll check our rudder movements, full deflection, left and right, our yoke, full deflection, left and right, elevator, full deflection. So they're all good. And we'll switch that back there to the engines. We'll get a full engine view there. There we go. Lovely. Back to our main cockpit window. So we're going to start moving off. Taxi lights are on. I'm going to turn our air conditioning packs on. Those just up there, see them there. Turn them off again. On. There we go. Right, let's taxi out of here. Let's bring our engines up to about 24. Should start us moving off. Release our brake. About 24, we should start moving. Just holding short of the runway now. So before entering the runway, we are going to turn on our landing lights. Are on. Switch all those landing lights on. Checks here, pressurization's checked. Good. Coming down here, heading. Let's check our heading indicator. Still on the wrong one, which will be around here. Our heading, takeoff. VR speed 156, so we have to set our trim 6.09. Trim here. From your CDU, calculate the trim for you, 6.09. Right, that'll do there. We're going to set our flaps now to 5. Auto braking to RTO. It's an aborted takeoff. Turn our flight director on and our auto throttle on. See if we can engage LNAV and VNAV. VNAV won't engage until we're above our transition altitude. Command is on, our autopilot set. Let's test for any warnings. What our master caution is, what caution alarm buttons on there. Okay, we're all set. Move out onto the runway and begin takeoff. Clear right, clear left. bring our throttle speed up to about 40% and then release the brakes. Cabin crew positions for takeoff. Positive climb, gear up. The autopilot should have engaged now. Pilot's engaged. That's about it for now, chaps. Take her up to 10,000 feet. And then we'll turn off the seatbelt signs, landing lights, and I'll pause the video there and then come back to you when we're on our approach for landing. I'll bring the flaps up now. Sideways. Practice to keep altering your heading indicator, heading both in line with the route, even though you don't have to. The autopilot's controlling it. It's just good practice to keep adjusting it. Approaching 10,000 feet now. Turn those landing lights off and turn off the seatbelt sign. Taxi light can go off now. above 10,000 now, so landing lights on. And we'll release the cabin crew. Cabin crew released. Just following our route along here, see that there, going up to our first waypoint, which is EGKK. Automatic banking now. Our altitude should have come up now, but it hasn't come up yet, so I'm going to do a manual flight level change. We should be climbing up to about 31,000 feet now. Takes up to 14, eventually up to our cruising altitude 34. Set our cruising altitude on the MCP now, 34,000. Now set our altitude to 34. Should continue gradual climb up now to 34,000 feet. Switch it back to our main viewpoint. As you can see, here's our route here. Their altitude climbing, it's our speed indicator. The autopilot is controlling our engine speed, N1, controlling our lateral navigation. Should be controlling our vertical navigation, but for some reason there's no on. Don't know why. Select our VNav. That might be why we weren't climbing as we should have been. TOGAtech on, which I forgot earlier. TOGAtech is now on. Pause this video once we reach 34,000 feet, and then when I come back in the second part I'll take you through the setting up for approach to London Gatwick. We'll use an ILS approach. Past 29 pounds. So on the first officer's side, on track, see where we're going here. So that's 29.7, line at 301, or 0.79. That is a good way to show you. This is the first officer's FMC, CDU. This is our current approaching our waypoint quite a bit. Some speed there, and that will be, once we reach this waypoint, we should be at flight level 340. We're currently at 31,000 feet. Our cruising altitude is 34,000 feet, so we should level off 340. I'll get that all in frame for you there. See there, that's the TOC, top of climb. So at that point there, we should be at 34,000 feet. Approaching 33. We're just leveling off. to the next waypoint, which is, I don't know, Lohre, L-O-H-R-E. So next waypoint. Maintaining 34,000 feet. So I'll pause the video once we reach our final point of our APIX graphics, because that's where we'll start to do our descent. So I'll take you through that. In fact, I'll stop it at DENUT, because that's at 34,000 feet, and then I'll start to prepare for our descent. In line there. You can zoom in and out on the course here. Maintaining 34,000 feet at 275 knots. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you have any comments or any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the section below. And don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to catch your future videos. Okay, well, thanks again for watching TOGAtech, and I'll see you next time.